Hi crafting friends, today I'm going to show you how to use Dollar Tree items to create a charming nativity. Do we ever really outgrow playing with blocks? I love these Jenga style blocks. They call them the Tumbling Towers game, and there's 72 in a box. They're really well crafted and each one has some wood grain pattern. I'm going to use these to create some folk art style nativity figurines. The first one is going to represent Joseph, and the second one is going to represent the Blessed Mother Mary. You can see how I'm attaching them, doubling up two, and then once those are adhered, I simply wipe away that excess wood glue with my finger, or later I started using a damp paper towel since my fingers were getting quite sticky. And you can see here, I put a fairly liberal amount to sandwich in between the blocks. I'll attach the two sets of two using more of the wood glue to get some height. I'm going to do that for both figures. To create the heads, little wooden balls that you can buy in a package from Dollar Tree work well. And I'm using Apple Barrel's khaki paint color to paint the figure representing Joseph. You'll also notice that I've glued together the two figures. I've elevated one to create the look of being taller. Rather than cutting the wood blocks, this works equally well. Representing Mary, I'm using this Regency blue from Apple Barrel as well. And the paint goes on easily with a regular paintbrush. I did apply 2 coats. Most of these figures will be covered up with some pretty burlap and lacy ribbon, but this gives a nice background color. From Dollar Tree, I purchased some pretty narrow lacy ribbon, which I actually had in my stash, and I'm going to use that to just adorn this side of the figurine. I wrapped it around the head, and I'm just crossing it over as I go down over the front. And the goal is to cover up that little hole in the wooden knob, and also just to create the look of a very pretty but simple feminine look. Then for the figure representing Joseph, I'm going to cut some burlap ribbon. This ribbon is also from Dollar Tree, and I found it in the section with the floral arranging supplies. And it was a bit wide, so I did, as you see, cut into a narrow strip that would fit nicely over that second figure. And here you see I'm just wrapping it around. You can loop those ribbons over one another just to kind of create a unified look. I'm going to use a little piece of this soft brown wool roving that I had from when I used to do rug hooking. You could use anything really, a little bit of yarn or anything soft. And I'm creating a little bit of a beard there for Joseph. And you can see that the hot glue works really well for all of these attachments. Now, here's a little piece of a soft blue blanket that I had. Again, you could use any little piece of fabric, and I'm going to just roll it to create the swaddling clothes to represent baby Jesus. All you have to do is roll a piece of soft fabric, hot glue it along the seam line, and slide in a tumbling tower block to give it some form. Then, one of the little wooden beads serves as the head. This Gorilla wood glue works really well to attach all of the wooden pieces. And here you see I'm just adding some right to the top of that tumbling tower block and then adding on a little bead. Now to conceal that hole in the top of that bead, I'm going to use some more of that wool roving and just create a little bit of hair. I'm also going to attach that precious little bundle there to the front of the two figures. And for that, I'm using some hot glue right across at an angle. And I'm going to shorten that blanket a little bit because right now it looks a bit oversized. But there you see I've added some of the wool to create the look of hair. And you could also use some yarn. Now, while all of that is drying, I'm going to turn our attention to creating the stable. And for that, I'm using this wooden form from Dollar Tree. After you remove the twine and tags, just flip it over to the front side. And the first thing I'm going to do is take this piece, it's a wood hanging plaque from Dollar Tree, and I'm just again going to cut off the twine and tag, and then I'm going to use that as the base for this three-dimensional stable. So we'll go ahead and use a combination of hot glue and wood glue to make that attachment. For crafting, the hot glue gives you a very quick hold, and the wood glue will add to the permanence. So you see I'm just adding a nice clean line of both glues, and then I'm going to flip it over and hold it in place until it takes hold. I also decided to add 3 tumbling tower blocks to the back side for added stability. I used the wood glue to attach those as well. And now here's the answer to what I'm going to do with the summer sun hat. I just made a little cut to release that edge of the straw, and I'm simply now unwinding it. You see how easily it comes apart. These ribbons of straw work really well to create a floor for the stable. Now that the wall has dried and you see the tumbling tower blocks have also dried in place, I'm going to use some hot glue just on the ends to adhere these ribbons of straw to the floor. This works very quickly to cover this platform, and I'm going to have lots left over to make another project that I'll show you in an upcoming video. But for now, I'm using some of it to create the look of a straw-covered floor. As you go across, you can just wrap the little ends around the back, underside, and use a little bit of hot glue to hold it in place. I also broke apart one of the large hay bales from Dollar Tree, and I put all of the loose pieces in that container. As you see, it actually creates a lot of individual pieces of straw, and I'm just sprinkling some of those over that straw ribbon, and that adds additional dimension and texture. You could always use a little bit of a spray adhesive to hold it in place. And speaking of straw, I'm adding 3 hay bales on either side of the stable. I bought a package of 8 from Dollar Tree, and I've started by adding 1 on each side using some hot glue. Now I'm adding some of the wood glue to serve as the roof line. These pieces of wood came from the Dollar Tree, and I like them because of the texture. Those lines create the look of a roof. So they fit perfectly, and I'm putting 1 of each of the sloped sections on either side. And now I'm just using some of the Dollar Tree Mod Podge to put a coating of Mod Podge to act as an adhesive for the straw. I coated both sides of the roof line and then sprinkled on that straw that came from that little Dollar Tree hay bale that I broke apart, and it gives a very good effect. Now for the next step, I'm going to attach using some hot glue the Holy Family in the center. This is the only item that didn't come from Dollar Tree, but you could certainly find something similar there. I got this from Totally Dazzled, and that represents the star. I want to add many more figures as the project continues, but for now, I'm going to create some animals using this really soft fabric from Dollar Tree. It has a softness that I've never found in the Dollar Tree fabrics before, and the little whimsical animals are perfect for this nativity. So what I'm doing is I'm just broadly cutting out some of the different animals, and then I'm going to use some of the tumbling tower blocks to give them form and stability. So all you have to do is use some Mod Podge. I start by using some wood glue to attach the blocks. Now, depending on the shape of the animal, you'll want to use the blocks in different ways. For this, I'm using 2 of the blocks side by side, as you see, and then I'm going to use some of the little small blocks from a package from Dollar Tree for the head portion. And depending again on the size and shape of the animal you're using, you'll want to use those blocks in different ways. But the concept is the same for all. You want to cover the wood blocks using the fabric, and you want to use the wood glue to attach the blocks, and then Mod Podge or fabric Mod Podge to adhere the fabric to the front of those blocks. Dollar Tree sells the small bottles of Mod Podge, but because I had this fabric Mod Podge in my stash, I went ahead and used that. And you can see I'm just using a paintbrush, and I'm going to fold over that fabric to cover up the sides of the blocks. What's nice about the printed fabric is they have the animals going in different directions. So after I got the front of the blocks covered, I cut out the other side and I was able to make a two-sided animal. Here you can see the front is done, and now I've cut out the same little deer going in the opposite direction. So I'll have a two-sided animal, and that way from all angles it looks finished. You'll just want to use the same technique of applying the Mod Podge to the back side of those blocks, and then lay your fabric down, folding over those edges. Just work that fabric around those edges, smoothing it as you go. And if you need to cut a little extra piece and patch it in. And here you see I'm just adding it in to the nativity scene using some hot glue and just placing it right there alongside the Holy Family. Here you can see I've added more of the small hay bales on either side, stacking them in kind of a random way. And now I'm going to show you how to create the little bunny animal. For that, you just want to cut out the bunny design, and I'm going to use 3 of the tumbling tower blocks standing vertically. That's the perfect design to create a form for the bunnies. And again, just applying some Mod Podge to the surface of those. I had already adhered them using the wood glue. And now just applying that little bunny fabric over top, smoothing around those edges, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it on the back side as well. Having those little animal designs printed on the fabric in both directions really does make it easy to create those two-sided block animals. And again, you see here I'm just folding the fabric over so that all the edges will be covered. And there you have it, another sweet little animal to add to our nativity scene. And now I'm showing you a third one. This is a sweet little deer in a sitting position that I'm going to attach to the back wall. Now here it is so far. We still need some sheep, some shepherds, an angel, and I can't help but think about the cattle. The cattle are lowing, the baby awakes, but little Lord Jesus, no crying he makes. I want to share with you across the street the farm where the cattle are so friendly. They have some longhorn steer that come up to the fence to greet us whenever we walk by. And this one is so friendly. It likes to have its face petted, and you can see how it puts its face through the fence so that we can pet its little head.
Oh, you've got pretty markings.
My name is Lisa, and I invite you to subscribe, and also I would love to hear your comments in the comments below. And now we'll continue. Before I finish all of the other figures that I'd like to add to this scene, I wanted to add in some greenery and some small lights. I also added some little trees from the Dollar Tree. I used a string of the little mini string lights to just tape along the inner rim of the roof line. And you can see I put little pearls on the centers of this greenery. I added in some pine branches to cover up the little lights behind, and I concealed the battery pack in the back of the stable. Using mostly materials from the Dollar Tree, I created this idealized, kind of almost abstract rendering. I think it has a wonderful whimsy and charm, and I think this would be a fun project to do with your children or grandchildren. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you on my next video later this week when I'll be working with gingerbread. In the meantime, do take care and God bless.